Right, so I predicted this would happen 2 years ago. It was natural the way the culture was going. And it seems that Matt Walsh finally has his answer to what is a woman. It's coming from the UK highest court. It's capable of hiring judges that seem to have more wisdom and understanding of the universe than the Supreme Court in the United States judge nominee, which said she can't say what is a woman because she's not a biologist. Do you guys remember that? Because I remember it. It was hilarious. The U.S. President Joe Biden at the time came out, and he said that he wants the first black woman to be on the Supreme Court. And when they asked what is a woman, she's like, well, I don't know. I'm not a biologist. I guess Joe Biden must have had a biologist in his cabinet that informed him. It's like, by the way, that's a woman. Meanwhile, in the United Kingdom, it seems that they don't have this problem anymore. They say that in order to qualify, right, like this is absolutely not. In order to qualify as a woman, a person needs to be born female. And so if my understanding of the law is correct, they also seem to answer the question that the activists in pursuit of knowledge constantly ask. What about intersex? What about if a person is XXY? What do we do with those? And again, if my knowledge of the law is adequate, then a man. It's simple as, like, either you got double X chromosomes and you're a woman, and if you don't have that and you have everything else under the fucking sun, you're a man. So, hey, look, the activists were seeking knowledge, right? Like, they were in pursuits of the masteries of the universe. They were trying to figure out, but what about intersex? Well, it seems that the UK Supreme Court may have answered to them. You're either a woman or you're a man. It's kind of like the medieval understanding for a peasant. In the year of the Lord 1300, if a peasant encountered the supernatural, it could have only meant two things. It's either from God, divine, and if it's not from God, divine, then it's from Satan. That's it. There's no middle ground. There's no kami. There's no forest spirits, nymphs, that may do good or bad. No, right? And so this is how the judges have apparently created an ideology that would even be fit for a medieval person to understand. It's either divine, double X chromosome, or it's a man. Again, maybe it's going to be up for interpretation, but the way I'm reading the law, the way I'm reading what they're saying, is that in order for a person to benefit from the Equality Act, they need to be biologically a woman, right? So, in other words, you get the Equality Act if you're biologically a woman. If you're not, you don't fit in. So what this means is that if you have a company, for instance, and the holy activist grifter wants to see if there's a gender pay gap. Now, the smart, savvy business entrepreneur would have told the men in his company, hey, I want you guys to identify as a woman, and the men would be puzzled. It's like, but we're not women. We don't feel like women. We don't believe we are. It doesn't matter what you think, feel, or believe. Like, the law allows you to do this, and it's paperwork, it's bureaucracy. Like, you can behave any way you want. I don't care what you do in your private life, but when you're at work, legally speaking, I want you to be a woman so that I look good with the gender pay gap, right? And then, hypothetically, nothing was to stop the people at the company from just doing the paperwork, doing the bureaucracy, and all of a sudden the company is employing 100% women. All of a sudden they're not sexist. All of a sudden the gender pay gap is gone, right? Has nothing to do with trans people. Has nothing to do with the ideology. It's literally just using the government bureaucratic systems in order to make a profit. And so this is why the judges are basically stepping in. That they don't really care about the culture. They don't really care about the belief or the ideology. They're basically saying, yeah, when it comes to bureaucracy, if we already believe that men and women should be treated differently in some cases, we can't just allow for men to simply identify as women and then, be able to be sent in a woman's prison, be able to enter a woman's shelter, like anything like of the sort. This is the decision that the court is taking, because from what I gather, this only applies to benefiting from the Equality Act. But if you have a trans person that doesn't get a job because they're trans, like, that still applies. Like, it's still a hate crime. if you have a trans person that gets attacked for the fact that they're being trans, that still applies. That's still a hate crime. I don't know what they do when it comes to misgendering and using the wrong pronouns and stuff. I don't know if this applies here. But if a person was to, for instance, demand equality treatment and they demand to be allowed in a woman's bathroom when they weren't born as a biological female, well, according to this, they may be prevented from doing so. Now, again, this is my understanding, right? Because I didn't study Commonwealth law. I don't understand like how British law makes, but from reading the article and hearing what the judges have said, I think this is what they mean. I predicted this because the moment they opened the door to it and they said, okay, trans women are women and they should be able to use a women's bathroom, they should be able to go into a women's domestic shelter, and, you know, people were asking, it's like, well, why are you pushing for this? And one of the answers that the activist gave was, well, there's not that many trans people anyway. Like, how many trans people do you think there are? And they would point out it's like 1% of the human population, right? Like, it's not that destabilizing to society. And I raised the question, it's like, okay, you're asking how many trans people are, which is fair enough. But, like, how many disingenuous person are there in Britain? Like, out of the entire British population, how many human beings do you have that are disingenuous? And, you know, they're not trans, but they're, like, just disingenuous, dishonorable, don't care about the rules, and just want to play the bureaucracy. Because now you can have a person that isn't trans, doesn't identify as trans, doesn't even care about the ideology. You can have a complete pervert that decides to go out, molests a person, and they identify as a woman. And after that, the judge places them in a women's prison. Like, do you think that such a person can't exist in reality? Like, do you think, like, this level of evil is just unthinkable? Like some person can't use bureaucracy in order to obtain a better sentence? And the answer is like, of course there are. And there were many cases like this, which is why people got upset and eventually took this matter to court, and why the judges noticed, based on precedents, because in 2016, you know, this didn't pass and you didn't have precedents where this could happen, so it was all hypothetical. But after like several years of jurisprudence, of judges looking back and saying, okay, well, there were people that abused our bureaucratic system, there is a loophole, and they closed it. And the reason that I predicted it would happen is because, well, the activists did absolutely no objective test. If all it takes for a person to become a woman is to claim it, well, then you just destroy the concept of a woman. You can't even talk about women's rights anymore. You can't even say, well, there are situations where women deserve this and this and that. Well, then any man can just say, all right, I'm a woman now, and they become one. And then if they want something that men have, they can say, okay, I identify as man now. We already saw this in Ukraine. Like, in Ukraine, there were Vice articles and other mainstream media publications that were livid over the fact that trans people can't leave Ukraine and they have to stay and fight. And there was also some individuals that noticed that in the United States, same legislation is drafted, that in the case where you would have a war and you'd have an actual draft, from the military perspective, they would also identify trans women as men. And so, well, that was like the first contact with reality. It's because, well, if you have a situation where all you have to say is, I identify as a woman, and then you don't partake into the draft, well, what's to stop everyone from doing that? Like, not all people want to go to war. Not all people want to be drafted. Not all people want to be in the trenches. And so, like, if all you have to do is to say the magic incantation, whether you are or not, there's no, like, objective proof, there's no, like, well, people will say it, right? And they will get out of the draft. And so governments notice this loophole and they're not going to abide by it, which is why, you know, if they were to say, okay, we are actually full on trans rights now, and if you identify as a woman, we're going to treat you as such and you can leave the country, well, that would have been making Putin extremely happy. Because all of a sudden, right, like pretty much like everyone in Ukraine would identify as a woman. What do I think about this as a cultural thing? I mean, I think it was expected. I think it's going to go back eventually to a time before 2016 when you're allowed to believe whatever you want. Like, no one is going to persecute you for your beliefs. No one is upset about what you believe in. But you don't have a right to enforce your beliefs on others. Like, you can't expect to constrain other people, especially through force, whether it's soft power or hard power. Like soft power, getting them fired, fearing them that you have a mob of people that's antagonizing them day or night, going to their business, like that counts as soft power. So you can't believe something and then expect to force other people to believe your thing, because unless you're the majority, then the majority is going to turn against you at some point and they will say enough. And this is pretty much what's happening in Eastern Europe. Like, they were shaming Eastern Europe, places like Poland, Hungary, even Russia, for not being enlightened, for not having trans rights. But in reality, like, trans people aren't oppressed here. Like, you can be trans, you can identify as trans, you can go out, like, you can do whatever you want. Like, no one is stopping you, no one is arresting you. You're not going to get a group of people persecuting you. But the government won't accept your version of truth. Like, if you commit a crime, you're not going to be placed in a woman's prison. If you want to go to a bathroom, you're going to have to go to the bathroom that fits your assigned gender at birth. And that's pretty much it, like, this is what we got shamed for. And now it seems that Britain is on the path of adopting a similar model. And this is coming from a country that had viral TikTok videos going out with students at school getting in trouble because they said they believe there's only two genders. They got people in trouble for hate speech over misgendering and pronouns and shit, right? Is anyone going to be held accountable for that? Like, if you're now considering that, hold on, no, like, maybe those people had a point, are you going to apologize to J.K. Rowling for the harassment that she endured, for, like, everything that she went through? No, of course not. Are the people that have harassed J.K. Rowling, are they going to be held accountable? No. Okay, well, it's good to know that this is the morality of a society. Like, as long as you're on the side of the mob with pitchforks, you're not going to be held accountable. Even if in the future we decide that what the mob with pitchfork did wasn't justified, was irrational, they may have done something bad, complete amnesty. Right? So, like, the moral of the story is, the next time there's a mob with pitchforks, if you're a sociopath, if you want to harm other people, join the mob. And you can commit socially unacceptable acts for the duration of limited time, right? Because, like, after the mob goes home, you can't remain in the streets alone in order to keep acting like the mob, because then you get in trouble. But while the mob is there, and you're also there with them, with your torches and pitchforks, no accountability, not even, like, a look in the past and say, wow, like, what they did is bad. No, we completely erase it from existence. We erase it from our mindset that it ever happened. And apparently, like, this is the way you run a country in the modern world. Not very different than a medieval thing. It's very traditional, very conservative. Let me know what you guys think, though. And as usual, I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.